Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. We have both of our speakers here on the call with us. Good afternoon and welcome to the Office of Economic Development Business Information Session. My name is Margaret McGee. I'm the Business Services Manager. Business Services assist entrepreneurs and business owners in starting and growing their business. We help in navigating through the different departments within city government to obtain permits and occupational licenses. We also connect the business community with organizations that can provide technical assistance, incentives, resources, and other beneficial programs. One way we do this is host business information sessions. These sessions are held throughout the year and the topics are gathered from entrepreneurs, surveys, and information we collect from the business community. This is a series of 4 sessions focusing on certifications, requirements, and benefits, and much more. Today we have Ms. Lori Bartholomew. She's the Office of Supply Diversity's Director, and she'll share her expertise on the City of New Orleans Equitable Business Opportunities Program. We also have Ms. Gail Brogan, the Business Opportunities Specialist with the U.S. Small Business Administration, and she's going to give her share her expertise on the 8A program. I ask that you place your questions in the chat box, and we'll get to them in the Q&A section. All handouts that will be shared today will also be forwarded to everyone that's participating today within 24 to 48 hours after the meeting has ended. Now I'll go ahead and turn it over to Ms. Lori, and she'll be followed by Ms. Gail. And one other thing, again, to avoid distractions, only speakers should have their video on. If everyone else can keep your video off and your speakers on mute, and give full attention to the speakers. Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret. Are you going to put the presentation up or should I, or?
I could put it up. I'm also trying to man the videos. I'll pull it up.
Hi, everyone. So like Margaret said, I'm Lori Bartholomew. I'm the Director of the Office of Supplier Diversity with the City of New Orleans. And I'm going to talk about the city's Equitable Business Opportunities Program. Go to the next screen.
Okay.
Yeah, I probably should have shared mine. It would probably have been easier.
Yeah, because I'm also trying to make sure everyone adhere to
the no video.
No video, yes. So it's kind of difficult. Can you share your screen?
I'll try.
Okay.
Oh, is it sharing?
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, let me try to do it as a slideshow. Okay, there we are.
Thanks, Lori.
No problem. Okay, so like I said, we're going to talk about the Equitable Business Opportunities Program, which includes the SLDB certification, EBO compliance, outreach, and capacity building. And we're going to have time for questions at the end, I think.
Yes.
Okay, so the Equitable Business Opportunities Program with the city is prescribed by City Ordinance, Part 2, Chapter 770, Article 4, Division 2 of the City of Code of Ordinances. It's administered through the Office of Supplier Diversity, and it was established to assist underserved, underutilized, and disadvantaged businesses with gaining greater access to procurement opportunities and resources to build competitively viable and sustainable businesses in and for the city of New Orleans. As most of you probably know, there's an overall equity goal of 35% for all public spending or private projects that utilize public funding or incentives that are subject to an equity goal otherwise established pursuant to this division. So the Office of Supply Diversity, we focus on 3 areas: certification, and certification is with the state and local disadvantaged business enterprise program. We also are responsible for adhering to the EBO compliance or DBE compliance. So that 35% goal or whatever goal we establish for contracts, our department is responsible for making sure that prime contractors, city departments, everyone stay in compliance with those requirements. And then the other thing is, like we said, one of the goals of the program is to build capacity for DBEs. And so we do that through capacity building efforts and outreach. SLDB certification, the State and Local Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Certification Program, is a centralized DBE certification program accepted by other agencies for locally funded projects. It's a partnership with the Sewage and Water Board of New Orleans and the New Orleans Aviation Board. It's a race and gender neutral program that does not presume social and economic disadvantage. It is the responsibility of applicants to prove to us that they are socially and economically disadvantaged. It requires firms to meet the same social and economic eligibility requirements as the Federal Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Program. So the process works. OSD facilitates the certification of DBEs and EBO program and maintains the database of SLDBEs. Eligibility for certification includes business-sized firms, including its affiliates, must be a small business as defined by SBA standards. It must not have average annual gross receipts over $26.26 million. That one in the slide is wrong. We haven't updated it, and that amount changes every year. It's evaluated every year by SBA in the previous 3 fiscal years. The disadvantaged owner must exercise control of the business, the power to direct or cause the direction of the management and policies of the firm. The owner must also have an overall understanding of and managerial and technical competence and experience directly related to the type of business in which the firm is engaged. So when we do certification, we certify you based on certain NAICS codes and your expertise. And so the disadvantaged owner has to demonstrate that they have expertise in that area that they're trying to be certified. And it also has to be 51% owned by a socially and economically disadvantaged person. And they have to demonstrate that it is an independent for-profit business. The business must not be tied to another firm in such a way as to compromise its independence. And so the way our certification process works is you submit a DBE application for certification on our system, which is neworleans.dbesystem.com. And you can submit an online application. We do not take paper applications anymore. And once we confirm receipt of the application and all the required documentation, then we notify you. If there is any missing documentation, we notify you or any information that we require. And then we do a review of that. We schedule a site visit. Right now, we're still doing virtual site visits, and we discuss your business, how your business is run. We make determinations of the eligibility requirements. And then our team reviews the application and all of the requirements and make a recommendation for approval or denial. If we deny your application, the applicant has 10 days to request an appeal, and all appeals are reviewed or heard by a certification appeal committee, and their decision is final. Certification is for 1 year. Right now, we're thinking of changing that requirement to extend it to be more on the same lines as the state program. Usually you will receive notification of your renewal application or renewal requirement 45 to 30 days prior to your expiration date. And then you are required to submit an application. Once you become certified, you are put into our SLDBE certification or directory. And that is how prime contractors and other businesses can access you to know that you are certified and or ready to do business. So you're certified. What's next? The next thing, and we notify you this, the next step you should take if you want to do business with the city is to make sure that you are registered in our supplier portal, which is called BRASS. It's a free registration. You do it by commodity codes, which are kind of equivalent to the NAICS codes that we use. That way you are notified of informal solicitations, which are done by BRASS, and then any advertising of formal solicitations. So you will get an actual email notification of solicitations, RFPs, RFQs that are available from the city. So this is just a screenshot of the city's NOLA.gov website and how you access the supplier portal and register as a supplier. It's very easy. It's right on the front page. Just click on those links and get to that. And then also once you don't have to be registered in BRASS to actually see bidding opportunities. The advantage of registering in BRASS is that you will be notified by email for those opportunities that you are linked by commodity code for. But you can always go to the website and see what other open opportunities are there. That's the next step. One of the other steps I want to encourage everyone is once you become certified, take advantage of all of the technical assistance that is available through other agencies, nonprofit agencies, especially for, say, if you are trying to do a construction business and it's a brand new business, take advantage of Urban League has a very comprehensive training program, but there are so many other technical assistance agencies that are available to offer technical assistance. And I really do encourage you to take advantage of those. So one of the other things and one of the big things that we're known for in our office is the EBO compliance part. So like I said before, we have a 35% overall equity goal or DBE participation goal for all public spending by the city. Our compliance officers perform DBE evaluations, which are done prior to RFPs or RFQs going out, or actually on the proposals that we receive in response to formal bids, DBE validations, compliance audits, and site visits. They are the ones who are monitoring contracts to make sure that the 35% or whatever the DBE goal is being met. Our OSD compliance function is strategically aligned with the procurement process. Like I said, we are part of the process from the beginning to the end. As of the end of February, OSD monitors on average 500 contracts with a value in excess of $1.5 billion. So there are opportunities there. In total, in 2022, we had 73 new contracts were awarded to DBEs with a value of $121 million. So there are opportunities with the city. I guess I should go back and say when we talked about certification, only 2 certifications that the city ordinance lets us accept are DBE certifications, either in the SLDBE program, so the certification that we do, other one through the Louisiana Unified Certification Program. Those are the only 2 certifications that we accept for city projects or meeting the DBE goal for city projects. This is just a picture of our office and the rest of the city participating in site visits on infrastructure projects that are still ongoing. We know that there are going to be lots more infrastructure projects. We are tasked with trying to make sure that we have enough DBEs who can meet the challenge and who are able to perform on those contracts. That is the largest amount of money that is being spent by the city in contracts is with infrastructure and construction. One of the last things that we do, and I talked about taking advantage of technical assistance opportunities with our nonprofit partners, because we don't have the capacity in our office right now to do that. So we do outreach events. We do outreach events with other agencies who have opportunities for DBEs. And we also do outreach events with technical assistance agencies. We try to establish strategic alliances with internal and external stakeholders to inform the DBE community about procurement, training, and technical assistance opportunities and resources. We are in the process of kicking off our mentor protege program. It was developed to enhance the capacity of SLDBE firms through hands-on and classroom training experience. The program strives to develop working relationships between SLDBE firms and prime contracting firms that have successfully participated in or completed municipal contracts. And then we're also in the process of developing a DBE advisory council which will consist of DBE firms across the board. And the point of the DBE advisory council will be to advise, assist, support, and advocate strategies and initiatives that will support the EBO program and contracting opportunities for the SLDBE community. The council will be comprised of DBE certified firms, non-certified firms, and technical assistance agencies. And we hope that those efforts will show some fruits of our labor and getting more contracts and more DBEs who are willing and able to do work with the city. This is just some pictures of last year. We had a reverse trade show. It was the first time we did it. It was a huge success. This year we're planning to have another one sometime June or July, and everybody will be notified of that. And hopefully you can come out. And what this we did with this trade show was we had city departments come out and interact with DBEs and let them know, because this was geared toward DBEs and not prime contractors, let them know the opportunities that were available in each of their departments, and hopefully have somebody connect with, you know, somebody in a department in a city to be able to get some work. With that said, one other thing I wanted to mention is on Monday, March 13th, there will be another pre-bid meeting. It's going to be happening at, and I'll put this information, hopefully I can get it into the chat, Orleans Justice Center. They are rebidding a medical facility, and trying to get the information up. And it's the medical services building. It's a rebid. The meeting that there will be two pre-bid meetings. The one on Monday, March 13th, will be done with the sole purpose of having the opportunity for prime contractors who are potentially bidding on this to meet with potential DBE so that they can partner. So we will be sending out information through our information channels so that you know about this opportunity, and please show up if you are interested in getting some work with the city. And that's all I had.
Thanks, Lori. And if you could share that with me, I'll definitely send it out to everyone that attended today.
I would definitely do that, Margaret.
Yes, thanks a lot. Now we'll go ahead and turn it over to Ms. Gail.
Let me stop sharing my screen, I think.
Yes.
Let me see how I can do this. Okay.
Oh, okay. Good afternoon, everyone. As previously stated, I am Gail Brogan, and before I begin my presentation, I would just like to take this opportunity to thank Ms. Margaret and the City of New Orleans for this opportunity to share information on the SBA 8A program. If you can, Margaret, could you pull up my presentation?
Okay.
Okay, as stated, this is me. I'm Gail Brogan. I've been with the SBA for nearly 30 years. My primary role at SBA is I serve as a business opportunity specialist. And what that means is I assist certified firms in the 8A program with business development. Next slide, please.
Okay, there we go.
Okay, in today's presentation, we will review the eligibility requirements, the application process, and the business development and contracting aspects of the 8A Business Development Program. Next slide. The 8A Business Development Program. The 8A program is a 9-year program that's created to help socially and economically disadvantaged entrepreneurs gain access to and succeed in a federal marketplace. That 9-year is broken down into 2 stages. The developmental stages is years 1 through 4, and the transitional stages is years 5 through 9. Continuation in the program is dependent on participant firms being in compliance with the program requirements. But we hope that the 8A Business Development Program will build capacity, which will give you a path to grow through contracts, giving you the capacity to hire employees and gain access to business development support. Next slide, please. 13 CFR 124. These are the regulations that govern the 8A Business Development Program. Within these regulations, it fully defines who qualifies for the 8A program, including what counts as being considered socially and economically disadvantaged. We feel that this program will unlock opportunities to you in doing business with the federal government. Next slide, please. Now, these are the basic requirements of the program, and I'll go over each one of these bullet points. You must be small, socially and economically disadvantaged individuals who unconditionally own, control, manage their business, a U.S. citizen, possess good character, and demonstrate the potential for success. Next slide, please. Now, to be eligible, you must be small. And how do we determine if you're small? That's by your NAICS code. For those of you who may not be familiar with what a NAICS code is, NAICS code stands for the North American Industry Classification System Code. It is a 6-digit code that corresponds with either a size standard expressed in dollars, a number of employees. So I give you an example. If you are a roofing firm, your 6-digit NAICS code would be 238160. That's corresponding size standard is 19 million. So what that means is if your 5-year revenue average is less than 19 million, you are considered small. If you're not certain of what your NAICS code is and you just want to see what it is, please go to our website for additional information. Next slide, please. Now, for the purposes of the 8A program, you must be what we call socially disadvantaged. These are individuals who have been subjected to racial prejudice or cultural bias without any regard to their qualifications. Certain groups are presumed to be socially disadvantaged, such as Blacks, Native Americans, Hispanic, Asian Pacific Americans, and subcontinent Asian Americans. Next slide. Now, does that mean if I don't fall underneath that category, I'm not eligible for the 8A program? Not necessarily. And we cannot demonstrate. If a business owner can provide evidence of what we call preponderance of evidence, meeting the criteria under race, ethnic origin, gender, physical handicap, or long-term isolation from mainstream society, they may be eligible for the program. These personal experiences must have happened in American society and been considered to be substantial or chronic, must have negatively impacted you in either education, employment, and business history. So as you, when I listed those groups, one group you did not see is a woman-owned business. That is not one of the automatic groups. However, if a woman can demonstrate that she has been prejudiced against under these factors, she may be eligible for the 8A program. So to make a long story short, we do have non-minorities, white females, that are in the 8A program based on the evidence that they were able to provide. Next slide, please. Now, not only must you be considered socially disadvantaged, you must be considered economically disadvantaged. So for the purposes of the 8A program, economically disadvantaged individuals are those who they're socially disadvantaged, whose ability to compete in the free enterprise system has been impaired due to diminished capital or credit. When you're applying for the 8A program, you will have to provide a narrative statement supporting that. Also, you will have to submit personal financial data on your spouse. Even though your spouse may not be a part owner of your business, that is one of the requirements that's set forth in 13 CFR 124. Next slide, please. Now, we look at your diminished capital and credit. When we're considering if you're economically disadvantaged, we'll look at your income for the past 3 years, your personal net worth, the fair market value of all your assets. And we even look at if you've transferred those assets within the last 2 years, how would that be attributed to you claiming disadvantage? Next slide, please. Now, there was some recent changes made within the SBA as recent as December of 2022. Due to, I guess for lack of a better word, the economic impact and inflation, they've increased the net worth for the program. So now, in order to apply for the 8A program and for continued eligibility, you have to have a personal net worth of less than $850,000. It used to be $750,000. We look at your income for the past 3 years, it may not exceed $400,000 for initial and continued eligibility. And prior to that, it was $350,000. And we look at the fair market value of all your assets. It was previously $6 million. It has increased and it may not exceed $6.5 million for initial and continued. And when we speak about all your assets, that includes both your personal and your business assets. It cannot exceed $6.5 million. Next slide, please. And I always like to give examples. So I use Oprah Winfrey as an example. She can demonstrate that she's been social disadvantaged, but she's not economically disadvantaged. It's not an either or. You have to meet both the criteria of being economically and socially disadvantaged. And we're going to talk about ownership. And you're going to see that 51%, that's a common percentage or denominator in most of the contracting programs. But for the 8A program, at least 51% of the ownership have to be held by one who's considered to be socially and economically disadvantaged. And that ownership must be direct. So what that means is it cannot be owned by another company. And it has to be unconditional, not subject to any conditions. Next slide, please. And no matter what your business structure may be, whether you're a partnership, LLC, or corporation, you're always going to see that disadvantaged individual has to own at least 51% of that partnership or the member interest or the voting stock of that entity. Next slide, please. Now, you're going to talk about control. Now, control is a little bit different than ownership. When we talk about control, these are the factors we look at. The disadvantaged individual must have the managerial experience. They must possess the technical expertise, have the required licenses and regulations, devote full time, hold the highest officer position, serve as general partner, serve as a management member, control the board of directors, and receive the highest compensation. I'm just going to talk on a couple of these points. Devote full time. The 8A program is a business development program, so you must be able to devote full time to the business. So what that means is, how do we determine if you're devoting full time to the business? We look at your tax returns. So when you're submitting your tax returns, if we see you have a W-2 from another entity, that will raise a brow with, do you devote full time to the business? Now you may have resigned from that business, or is no longer working with that business. SBA, when you're doing the application, they will request supporting documentation that you are devoting full time to the business. Possess the technical expertise. We're a business development program, so we want you to have the expertise in the business that you're applying for. Next slide, please. Potential for success. Unfortunately, the 8A program is not for startup businesses. You must have reasonable prospect for success. And how do we determine that? We look at your management experience and the contracts that you may have. You have to have been in business for 2 years in your primary industry, and that means your primary NAICS code. So when we look at record of successful performance on contracts, those contracts have to be in the company's name that you're applying for. There's a misunderstanding out there that because I've done this work before, I'm eligible for the 8A program. That only supports your resume or your management experience. When we're looking at your expertise or performance on contracts, it has to be in a company's name that you're applying for. I can tell you they will not accept your application if that's not the case. Next slide, please. You must possess good character. I always say you should possess good character, whether you're applying for the 8A program or not. But these are some examples of lack of good character. You cannot have been on parole, probation, or incarcerated, violations of SBA regulations, debarred or suspended, lack business integrity, indicted into the guilty plea, convicted civil judgment or seller, wholesalers, brokers are ineligible, and you must be current on federal financial obligations. I'm gonna talk about a couple of these bullet points. Current on federal financial obligations. I always ask the audience, how many federal governments we have? The answer is we only have one federal government. So when we talk about federal financial obligations, that means the IRS. You must be current on any agreements you have with the IRS. You will have not had to satisfy a balance if you've owed totally, but if you are, have a payment agreement, you have to be in compliance with that payment agreement. The same thing with student loans. If you have a student loan with the federal government, whatever the terms were for you paying that loan back, you must be in compliance with that. SBA, many people are very familiar with SBA through the disaster program, receiving a disaster home loan or a business loan. You must be current on those obligations. The government is not going to give you more than 1 or 2 opportunities to not pay them. When we talk about being on parole, probation, or incarcerated, we do have some firms who have committed misdemeanor offenses and are eligible for the program. They look at that on a case-by-case basis. When you're applying for the program, you will have to provide information, get fingerprinted, and they will determine if you're eligible for the program. I can tell you right now, if you did a serious offense such as murder or robbery, you will not be eligible for the 8A program. Next slide, please. Now, ineligible businesses. Brokers are not eligible. We define a broker as a concern, meaning a business that adds no material value of the item being procured. Franchises are eligible, but SBA will have to review the franchise agreement for compliance with the 8A criteria. We know the government buys all sorts of services, such as janitorial. There is a franchise, King, that's not eligible for the 8A program because within their franchise agreement, there's a clause that states that they can take control. And when I went over the control component of this presentation, stated that you must be in control of your business at all times. A nonprofit organization, that speaks for itself. We expect you to generate revenue. And we also, businesses that are owned by another business where at least 50% of the assets are the same of a former participant, SBA will consider that eligibility to be used. What I want you all to keep in mind, even though it may appear to be that, your application will not automatically be rejected. They will give you an opportunity to provide evidence that that's not the case in anything that they're asking for. Only thing we cannot waive, you have to meet the criteria of being socially and economically disadvantaged. Next slide, please. Now, there's some benefits of being in the 8A program. This is a program that's set aside for sole source contracts. And what that means is when we talk about sole source contracts within the 8A program, these are contracts that you're negotiating. Any other contract you may be going after with the federal government, you may be bidding on them. But that's a unique opportunity that that is offered to the participants in the 8A program. My title again is a BOS. One of the benefits is that you will be assigned the BOS to work with you hand in hand, helping you navigating the process of receiving federal contracts. We do offer joint venture opportunities through SBA's Mentor Protege program. Ms. Lori, she talked about the city having a Mentor Protege program within SBA. That is a business development tool. With the SBA program, it allows you to receive a mentor where the rule of affiliation does not exist. And what that means is if you have a mentor within the SBA's MPA program, with a large business, you will still be considered small if you were to joint venture with that mentor. The rule of affiliation does not apply. And the mentor is out there to assist you in an area that you're lacking capacity in. It could be in accounting, it could be in bonding, just so many disciplines where you can request a mentor. And you also receive management and technical assistance through business training, counseling, and marketing assistance. We have an executive program. I believe the name has been changed to Thrive. And it's just like a mini master's program. Not only are our 8A firms eligible for that, but that any business that meet the criteria of being socially and economically disadvantaged may be eligible for that program. Next slide, please. Now, once you're 8A certified, as I say, we offer business development. We bring you into what we call a new firms orientation. That's an in-depth orientation where we go through all the guidelines and the requirements. We assist you in marketing to the federal government. Most of those contract awards that you will receive on a sole source basis will be received based on your marketing efforts. We have resource partners, and we cannot be everywhere. So SBA has resource partners throughout the state that is there to assist you in any of your business development needs. And we also offer assistance through surety bonds. The SBA does have a surety bond program. So I encourage you, each of you to go to our website, and you can search any one of these components within our website. Next slide, please. Contractual assistance. Now we know this is why most people get into the 8A program. The 8A is a business development program, but the contractual assistance is like the dessert of the program. This is the component of the program that I say fattens your wallet, brings money into your business. Although you may be 8A certified, there is no guarantee that you may receive an 8A contract. That success will be based on your self-marketing efforts. Who you will be marketing to, they will be the small disadvantaged utilization specialist, SABUs, a lot of acronyms within the federal government, deputies for small business and small business specialists. Once you become 8A certified, we're going to make sure you know exactly who these individuals are. We also offer contractual assistance through our procurement center rep, the acronym PCR. And what that person role is to ensure that the federal government is meeting their goals to all small businesses. Every federal government agency has a goal to small businesses in contracting. So they're making sure that those agencies are meeting those percentages. Within the 8A program, the percentage that the federal government has for social disadvantaged businesses, which 8A fall under, is 12%. 12% of their small business dollars must go to 8A firms. And we also offer contractual assistance through our commercial marketing representatives. That's the CMR. And what that person role is to ensure that any large business that receives a federal contract, that they are subbing a component of that to social disadvantaged businesses or DBEs. We call it social disadvantaged business within the federal, the city, and the state. You may hear the term DBEs, but they have to give a portion of that to those segments. Next slide, please. Now, we talked about the NAICS code. Any project that is synopsized with the federal government, it'll always state who's not eligible based on the NAICS code for that project. Now, this is why most people get into the 8A program for the sole source award opportunities. These are the opportunities that the businesses will be marketing for. If you're in sales and or services, if your revenue is less than $4.5 million, you're able to market for that and ask that agency to consider putting it in the 8A program. If you're manufacturing and wholesale, that's $7 million. Sometimes there's a contract that a federal agency may be ready to award where no one has marketed for. So if sometimes that's the case, we use a internal selection process. Our firms must be in compliance and possess that NAICS code. We have firms, the federal government, this may be their first project. They've marketed with the state, they've marketed with commercial contracts, but they never had to negotiate a contract. We will provide that assistance upon request. In the 8A competitive, these are contracts that are in excess of 4.5 million in sales and services and 7 million in manufacturing and in wholesale. All 8A competitors are synopsized in our SAM database. We'll talk about that, I believe, on the next slide. You must also adhere to what we call subcontracting limitations. And what that means is that comes under the FAR guidelines. That's the Federal Acquisition Regulation. These are the regulations the federal agencies abide by, and they do coincide with SBA's 8ABD regulations under the CFR. But what that pertains to is that there's a certain percentage of work you as the owner must perform. For example, if you are in general construction, and this is for any federal contract, not just 8A, you must perform a minimum of 15%. If you're in construction by special trade, 25%. If you're in sales and services, you must perform at least 50% of that contract. We want to ensure that those who are receiving these contracts are performing on them, and it's not just a pass-through. Next slide, please. The partnership agreements, that's the agreement we have with the federal agencies that allow you to self-market to them. Now, we assist you with subcontracting opportunities. We all realize that you may not be a prime on a federal contract, But each, as I stated, each federal contract has subcontracting opportunities. So if you go to subnet.gov, you can find out subcontracting opportunities that's being available to you. I always say a little bit of something beats a whole lot of nothing. That's a good way of getting your feet through the doors with a federal agency. The Small Disadvantaged Business Program, that's just a self-certification. You have to meet the same criteria of being socially and economically disadvantaged. And you self-certify, you just state in a SAM database that you're a small disadvantaged business. Now, in order to do business with the federal government, you must be registered in sam.gov, which stands for the System for Award Management. I strongly encourage you, should you express an interest in applying for the 8A program, make sure you're at the right site, sam.gov and .com. Say to register in this, these systems are free. There are entities out there that may charge you $500, $600. This is your tax money at work. We will provide that assistance to you if you so desire or need assistance in registering in SAMS. SAMS is intertwined with SBA's system, DSBS, Dynamic Small Business System. That is the system that federal agencies use when they're looking for small businesses. This is also the system that large primes use when they're looking for businesses to sub-work to. So you can use DSBS and SAMS not only as a database to register to do business, but a marketing tool, a search engine. This is how you get paid for your contracts. You have to be registered in the SAMS system. Next slide, please. Now, when should you apply? Are you ready? There's a one-time eligibility for the 8A program. So what that means is you can only, I stated earlier that it's a 9-year program. Once you use that eligibility, you cannot be in year 3 of the program and say, I'm a withdraw and come back in year 5. So we want to make sure you're eligible for the program. And how do you know if you're eligible? These are some things you should consider. Do you have the capacity to deliver on federal contracts? Do you have the sufficient cash flow, the capability? Do you have past performance? Can you demonstrate successful past performance? And some of that performance does not have to be with the federal government. That's based on, as I stated, your contracts that you received in your company's name when you're applying for the program. And are you open for advice on growing your business? These are some things you should consider. Next slide, please. Now, the application process, the application is fully electronic. You would have to go to certified.sba.gov to apply for the program. Again, it's intertwined with SBA's DSBS system. You used to have to obtain a DUNS number. That has changed. You will receive what we call a UEI number, Unique Entity ID. The processing time for the program varies. SBA does not process incomplete packages. So when we talk about the process time, the clock does not start ticking until SBA has received a completed package. The regulations state 120 days to have those applications approved. I've seen them done in less time, less than 2 weeks. That's rare, but it has happened. You will never have to wonder if your application has been accepted. SBA will make their decision to you in writing. They will always request supporting information. So what you want to make sure is that you're checking your emails to see what the response that you will be getting from SBA, whether they accepted your package or whether they returned it. It's going to, the response will be in certified as well as your email. But you need to note down whatever email you're using when you're applying for any of the certifications, the emails and your passwords. You're always going to need to know that. Next slide, please. So, am I eligible? If you're not certain if you're eligible for the 8A program after listening to this presentation or any of our government certification programs, such as the Woman Small Business Program, the Hub Zone, or the 8A program, go to certified.sba.gov. When you get there, next slide. This is what you're going to see. There go what's circled in red, number 1. You can log into Certify, or if you need to create an account, this is where you begin. If you're not certain if you're eligible for any other federal contracting programs, click on that, am I eligible? It will have a series of questions that they will ask you and navigate you to the next question to state either you're eligible for the program, you appear to be eligible for the program or not. If you have any questions in regard to that, there's an email address where you'll be able to ask any questions. There's also some helpful resources for you when you're applying for the program. Next slide, please. You can contact the local SBA office, and my information will be on the last slide. You can visit our website or to email those questions to 8questions@sba.gov for general information. When you're going into the certified, because that's where they'll be applying, they even go further and offer you an opportunity to call in and ask questions on program eligibility. You can go to the website for any other updates to the program. And they're also a great tool, FAQs, where there's frequently asked questions on all of the certification programs within the federal government, including the 8A, the MPA, Woman-Owned, and Hub Zone programs. Next slide, please. Again, I am Gail Brogan. This is my contact information. If you have any questions or need further clarification, please feel free to contact me. I shared with Margaret earlier this week, I do this training session on the second Wednesday of every month. So I'll be repeating this on tomorrow, but going in more detail because I'm allowed an hour for that session time. So I try to condense the information and get much of it as possible within a half an hour's time frame. And looking at my clock, I made it. So I'm so glad with that. So I thank you all for your attention. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Margaret, see if we have any questions out there.
Yes, so I asked everyone to jot down questions in the chat box. Currently, right now, I don't see any. So we're gonna open it up. If you just have any questions, raise your hand. And okay, we got one already. Let's, Lorena.
Yes,
Yes, go ahead and ask your question.
I just tuned in kind of late, but I am a non-medical emergency transportation business, very small, 2 wheelchair accessible vans. Would this program be beneficial to me?
Which program are you referring to? The 8A program?
Yeah, really all of them, yes.
I can
Any
say,
of them?
I can say in regard to the 8A program, first of all, what I didn't say earlier, the federal government is the world's largest buyer. They buy over $5 billion in products and services each year. Keep in mind, for whatever reason, if you don't meet the criteria for the 8A program, that's only one government certification that's out there. You're a woman-owned business, you would meet the criteria for that, and you're a small business. But the government buys that type of service, so you would be eligible for the 8A program. Based on the service, you still have to meet the eligibility criteria that I went over earlier.
Okay, and you'll be going over that tomorrow again, because I missed a good part of it. I signed in kind of late.
And what you have my email address, so if you're interested, just email me and I'll send you the link to join tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay,
Can you,
next, sorry.
no, I can ask tomorrow. I'm good.
Okay, would you like Miss Lori to answer that question also?
Yes, if do your business have to be in your name? Does that make a difference? Like if
So,
it's in one of your children's names, but it's your business?
no, as long as you can demonstrate that you are the 51% owner of the business and you are the socially and economically disadvantaged person. It can
Okay,
anybody's, well,
okay,
yeah, oh, yeah.
Okay,
That's,
so
that's
next,
the same for our program.
okay. Thank you.
thank you so much. Next, we have Miss Maya.
Yes, good evening. My question is about the invitation to bid that you sent through the chat.
Yes.
I guess I'm kind of wondering, what is this for? You know, I guess I was a little bit confused. I looked at the medical services building and I kind of thought that it was for medical services.
No, it's not. I'm sorry. And I should, I can actually, I'm gonna send the link also. I'll send the invitation to bid, the actual, invitation to bid to Margaret so that she can send it out to everybody. But it actually is construction of a medical center for the Orleans Justice Center.
Okay, thank you. Because I guess that's kind of what I run into. I never find any bids that associate with my type of business.
Right.
Because I have an optical, and most of the
Right.
bids that I run across are actually for the manufacturing of the lenses and not for the complete eyewear pair.
Right. So, for the city, I can probably tell you, I haven't seen, since I've been here, any kind of, procurement opportunities for that.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, next we have Miss Richardson.
Yeah, I guess there's a lot of certifications to get. Are there any that are just more priority than others, or should one just get them all? You may have answered this, but I may have missed that, but I just wanted to see.
Well, I can tell you within the federal government, I encourage you to apply for every program that you're eligible for. As again, the federal government buys so much and they have goals. You assuming that you are a Black female, and if you
Yes.
meet the income requirements of the program, the income and the personal assets, you may be eligible for the 8A program, and you may be eligible for the woman-owned small business program. So
Awesome.
and both of these programs require certification. So in order to get those contracts underneath those programs, you have to be certified.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, I was just say, and, so those certifications are used for federal procurement or local procurement through the city. We do, like I said earlier, we only accept the SLDVE certification or the LAUCP certification as a DVE.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have information in the chat box here. Is that Roshan?
Yes,
Okay, so you're asking for documents, certification documents. Exactly what is it you're seeking?
well, basically, the reason why I posed that question, I just wanted to know because I'm going through the process as far as, submitting the documents. But
Mm-hmm.
they had a couple of them that I wasn't too sure about. So in an event, if I do have questions to anybody, I can reach out to, whether via email or phone number, just to make sure I input the right documents.
Sure. For the New Orleans program, you can email us at supplier diversity altogether at NOLA.gov.
Will do. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I just want to share some information for everyone, if you're interested in the 8A program or any other the government certification programs. If you go to the certified database that I mentioned, there is a tutorial on there that will assist you, a video, in going through the steps of applying for the program. Most frequently asked questions, there's a checkoff list, meaning you go through every doc, ensure that you have checked off and submitted every document that was asked of you. We always say something in turn or funny. Why do people think we ask you for something and you don't have to submit it? For example, one of the requirements is if you've been in business over 3 years, you have to submit 3 years of your tax returns. We find that some firms may only want to submit 1 or 2. If you were in business for 3 years, you have to submit all 3 of the tax returns. But there's a wealth of information to assist you. There is a help desk. There's an email you can ask your questions to, as well as a phone number you can call in. As always, you can contact our local office and they will direct you with someone who could further assist you.
Okay, so that answers your question? Okay. Next we have Ms. Fatima.
Yes, I'm here. My question is, can you apply for multiple businesses if they're both owned by me, the individual?
Well, in regard to the federal, what I went over today, the 8A Business Development Program, is only one business. And one of the things we will be looking at if you're devoting full time to that business. Now, I did not, what I did not cover is if your business is owned by more than one disadvantaged owner, only one of you have to support full time to the business.
Okay.
We strongly discourage you from trying to register multiple businesses as a DBE. We will combine all of those the revenue from those businesses and all financial information into one application. So it will be counted across the board. When we make the determination is if it's a small business as well as if you're disadvantaged, economically disadvantaged.
Okay, so next we have Julie have a question in the chat box. Julie, you could unmute yourself.
Yes, my question was, I've been certified before and they have so many organizations and they cost money. So I went from, it used to be LAMDC, I think it was. Now I'm looking at the WBE. I was with the disadvantaged before. I've done work for a couple of companies in the city. Right now, I'm trying to reestablish myself. I'm trying to find out which program should I get certified for. There's so many different ones. I'm an image consultant. I'm a certified image consultant, and I do training on appearances, behavior, and communications. So I want to find out what would be the best one for me to join or get certified through.
We'll start.
I'm going to say the DBE program, we do not have a cost for being certified. So that is up to you if you want to see what kind of opportunities there are with the city. But you don't have, there's no cost with becoming certified with the city.
Okay. Thank you.
And that's the same thing with the federal government. There is no cost to become certified. However, under the woman-owned certification program, there are certifiers out there that charge you a fee, but that's totally up to you if you would like to use what we call a third-party certifier. But you can just contact any of your SBA offices for more information. As I continue to state, this is your taxpayers' dollars. So
Okay, thank you.
no charge of fee to apply.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, so now we have Ms. Brayley with a question. You could unmute yourself.
Hello, everyone. I have a quick question. Because you have to be socially and economically disadvantaged, would it be smarter to go with the DBE certification first before then applying for the 8.8 certification?
In regard to the federal government, the DB, if you want to say DBE or SDB, that's a self-certification. It's the same criteria. So you, even though you self-certify in one database, you still have to meet the criteria for the 8A program, which is a certification process. SDB is not a certification process for the federal government. You just state that in the SAM database.
Okay, thank you very much.
So
Okay,
just to clarify it, when you're registering for the federal government to have access to any of our certifications, you have to be registered in SAM. So when you're registering in SAMs, you're just going to click on it. They're going to ask you, are you a small disadvantaged business? You can say yes. And that'll have you in as a small disadvantaged business. But for the 8A certification, that's a whole application process that you have to go through.
Okay, so next we have a question from Ms. Natasha.
Hi, am I unmuted?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. My question was regarding notaries, and the reason that I ask is because if I'm dealing with a general contractor who may be contracted out for a job for so long, and we're just notarizing documents, but the percentage of what's required is not met. So where does the notary fit into being able to gain contracts?
Well, in regard to the federal government, every federal agency has a forecast of opportunities that they have available. What you need to do is take some time and meet with the small business representatives at those particular agencies and look at the contract that they are awarding. If you see something that you can do business in, for example, the courthouse, federal courthouse, they may be looking for notaries. You can go to their website. Now, this is not, I can tell you, this isn't under the 8A program, but under our disaster program,
Okay.
they're always looking for notaries.
Okay, I really actually have something else that I'm putting out for notaries. I really don't want to have that conversation, but I did take your information down, so I'll send you a separate email.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. But that was pretty much it. I just was trying to figure out where and how can I insert myself.
Thank you so much. Next, we have Ms. Deja. She have a question for Ms. Gail.
Bring it on, Ms. Deja.
Well, in the chat, what it is, she said, what was the site again, Ms. Gail? I'm not sure what site she's speaking of. That's why I was asking her to unmute herself. Okay, she may be a little shy, so we'll go ahead on to the next one, Mr.
You can email me directly if you like.
Yes. Next we have Mr. Lionel.
How y'all doing?
Good.
All right, I got a question. I just received the DB certification and I'm thinking about getting an 8A certification. Is there a wait period before I could submit an application for 8A certification?
Well, the wait period for the 8A certification is making sure you have all the required documents that's asked of you. Once you satisfy the criteria of meeting the eligibility, I strongly encourage you to apply for the 8A program. The 8A program, it allows you to save the information as you're applying. So you can always say you started this week and you set it back. You can always go back and pick up where you started from. What you want to keep in mind is that the information have to be current. So if you're submitting financial statements, they have to be no less than 30 days old. I run into people where they've said they've been applying for the 8A program for 2 or 3 years. So regulations change in some things, but as soon as you meet the qualifications in any program, I encourage you to apply. Unlike there's one program, and that's the Hub Zone program, is time sensitive. What that means is you have to complete it in one setting. However, the other certification programs, you can save that data and go back to it.
Okay, well, submitting, so basically to apply for 8A certification, I just have to resubmit, first meet the criteria, which I think I meet the criteria, and just resubmit the same paperwork that I submitted to get the DBE.
No, now you're confusing it. When you're saying, I'm assuming when you're saying DBE, you're talking about the cities program.
But I have a DBE, but I want to have 8A certification.
Okay, but that's two, I just want you to be aware that's 2 different certifications.
Yes, ma'am.
The
I
8A
understand.
certification is a federal, but if you meet the guidelines of what I covered today, by all means, apply for the 8A program.
Roger
It's
that.
the electronic process.
Okay, thank you very much.
Next, we have Mr. Travis. I think his question is kind of in connection with Mr. Lionel's. Travis, you could unmute yourself.
Yes, I started with the 8A process and they resubmitted it and they sent it back to me because it says something about my financials was off. Then I brought the financials to an accountant and she couldn't quite understand what was wrong. So I'm wondering if the 8A office can help me with that process, tell me what's wrong with them, so I can straighten that part out.
When they responded back to you, they should have had who's the analyst. We don't process the applications here in New Orleans, but we can assist you in finding out what they want. But that person who requested that information, they go back in that information and they provided an email to contact them. Get the clarification from them directly. If you're still not clear on it, by all means, give me a call and I can try to assist you further.
Can I get your number in the chat?
Ms. McGee is going to send you the presentation and it's going to have all my contact information on that, my email and my phone number.
Perfect. All right, thanks.
You're welcome. And if you can't reach me, there's 3 BOSs within our division. Just call the office because we do so much of training outside of the office or maybe in another part of the state. Just when you call our office saying you need assistance with your 8A application, and our program support person will put you in contact. If
Okay,
not
thanks.
with me, the other 2 BOSs.
Thank you so much. We have in the chat box, Lori supplied the SLDBE certification application is online, and she have the website New Orleans, one word, .dbesystem.com. Also, you can reach OSD at Supplier Diversity, one word, at NOLA.gov. So that information is provided in the chat box, and we'll go back to Rashawn. You had another question? Okay, I think she was probably asking that of Lori in the chat box. Ms. Gail just provided her information there. So are there any more questions? Raise your hand if you have any question.
I got another question, Mr. Jones.
Okay,
Okay, I was told this, under the 8A certification, if I knew a person that had an 8A certification, that they could grandfather me in. Is that such a thing?
No, it's not.
Okay, all right. Thank
The
you.
only thing that person may be able to do with you, because I said, yeah, eligibility is only used once. So they cannot have another company come in under them,
Okay,
because their eligibility has already been used.
okay. Thank you.
any more questions? Now is your
Yes.
time to ask. Okay,
I have one question. If you have a state DBA certification, do you still have to get a city DBA?
No, you don't. The city accepts both the LAUCP certification as well as ours.
okay, now I think I heard her say DBA.
Is it DBA? Or
Yes, it's DBA through the Louisiana Department of Transportation.
Yeah, you're saying a DBE, right?
The DBE, yes, I apologize. Yes, that's what I meant. I apologize.
That's
That's what I thought you meant, but that's
confusing me.
for the Department of Transportation to certify, but yes, we accept that certification as well. So no, you don't have to do both.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
Okay, any more questions? Ms. Tara, would you have a question?
No, ma'am, I just asked it. Thank you.
Okay. Well, if there's no more questions, we'll go ahead and conclude this meeting. Thanks, everyone, for joining today. I'll show you our flyer and I'll let you know of upcoming sessions that will be coming. Thanks to Ms. Gail and Ms. Lori for their wonderful presentations. Okay, can you see my screen? Okay, so I'm sharing the screen now, so it shows the future sessions that we're having. Again, I want to thank everyone for joining today, especially our guest speakers for their awesome presentations. Within 5 to 10 business days, this session will be available on the Office of Economic Development YouTube channel, along with previously recorded sessions. Our next session is Thursday, March the 9th, and our speakers are representatives from the New Orleans Ernest N. Memorial Convention Center and MetroSource LLC on behalf of the Louis Armstrong New Orleans International Airport. Remember to check your emails. I'll always send out reminders of the upcoming sessions. I hope you will join us again. Again, my name is Margaret McGee. Don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions. And everyone have a great day.